So, friends, the corner of Thompson and West Main, Tupelo, Mississippi, is a pure oil gas station. And the man that owns this gas station right here and runs it has an Elvis story to tell. It's incredible. He got to actually meet Elvis.
So friends, I'm in Tupelo, Mississippi. I'm at the Pure gas station right here on West Main. And this is my friend. Tell us who you are.
Gene Autry Turner.
Gene Autry. So Gene, you run this gas station.
Yes, sir.
How long have you been here?
I've been here about 16 years.
16 years at
Yes,
this
sir.
gas station.
Yes, sir.
And you were a Elvis fan in the 50s in Tupelo. Did you
Yes.
see Elvis in 1956?
Yes, I saw him at the Mississippi Alabama Fair and Dairy Show twice. I saw him the afternoon show and the night show, the evening show.
1956.
In 56. Yes, sir.
And then somebody, let's go on in and sit down. Get comfortable, my friend.
Okay.
I'm gonna shut this door so we don't hear so much background.
Okay, just push that and it'll fall.
Oh, I see it right here. So you saw him at those two shows. How old were you?
I was 16.
16 years old. An Elvis fan from
From day
this
one.
guy was from your hometown. How did that make you feel?
Oh, it was incredible. I mean, I've been an Elvis fan all my life, but even from day one.
Yes, sir. And you worked at a restaurant, and people would pick on you at the restaurant because you loved Elvis so much.
Yes.
But it worked out for you, and tell us how it worked out.
Well, it's worked out real well. I mean, I ignored a lot of it, but a lot of people think I'm obsessed with him, and it's just incredible. I mean, how everything's turned out.
But there was
for
a
me.
lady that came in there that you knew that fixed Gladys's hair. Tell us about that.
I was at Duty's Diner, and we were sitting in there one day, and he was always talking about Elvis, to me and everything. My boss was. He was always teasing me about him. And this man and woman was sitting over there at the in the booth over there, and they said, she looked at me and she said, "How would you like to meet Elvis?" I said, "Me meet Elvis?" I said, "Lord," I said, "I would love to meet him." She said, "Well, I tell you what," she said, I fix his mother's hair every Thursday. I got a beauty shop in Memphis, and I fix his mother's hair every Wednesday, Thursday. And I said, "When you get your vacation, you come up and I'll carry you down to Graceland." I said, "Okay." So that year I went to Memphis and I went to her beauty shop.
And this would have been in 1957.
Yeah, yes, 57, after he moved to Graceland.
Okay.
And I went to her office. She had a beauty shop upstairs,
And what was it called?
It's called Midtown Beauty Salon. Her name was Lucille Edgerton. I never will forget her name. And she said, "I can't go down there today with you, but I'll give you a card, a note here, and you go down to the gate and give it to the guard, and he'll let you in." I said, "Okay." So she put on the card on the back of it, said, "Gladys, this is the boy I told you about from Tupelo. Hope you can see him. Love, Lucille." She told me, said, "Take this card down there and to the gate, and the guard will let you in." I said, "Okay." So I go down to the gate, and I sat down there all day. I mean, I couldn't get the courage up to do it. So I sat there, and at 5 o'clock that evening, I cranked up and come back to Tupelo. And right after that, she passed away the next year. But I saw him in '57. He come back in '57 on a Friday night at the Mississippi Alabama Fair and Dairy Show, and I saw him there. And then we had this. I collect all kind of memorabilia and stuff, for him. So that was. I mean, I give up my time to see him. I didn't think I'd ever see him again, And so a few years later, a friend of mine, when he got
The badge?
the badge.
Yeah.
He got an
So were you working for the sheriff's department?
No.
So you just knew somebody at the sheriff's department?
Yeah, I knew somebody. Yeah.
So Elvis had gotten a badge, but he got the star.
He got a star badge.
And they wanted to make him a better one.
A better one.
Okay,
We had him a
tell
better
us about that.
We had him a better one made. It was when he met Nixon, same year he met Nixon. He come down here that Christmas. And
so that'd been 1970.
In 1970, Christmas. Okay. And they give him that star badge. And then later on, we had him a badge made. A woman told me, said, I will let you to present it to him inside of Graceland. I said, okay. So we had him a shield badge made like the one on Dragnet, the Dragnet series. And I kept it for about 6 months. This is in about January, February of the next year, 71. And she told me, she said, she said, you're going to meet him. Said, you're going to present him with this badge, this person that knew him real well. And
so you kept the badge in your possession for that period of time?
I kept it in my possession.
Wow.
And she said, until he gets this badge, said you'll be the one to give it to him. I said, okay. So I went and kept it all summer. And then she called me one day and said, he's ready to see you. I said, okay. So I went down to a local store down here and bought me a suit with everything, all the fittings and everything to meet him. And so I go to... So friends, I'm on Spring Street, 108 Spring. This is Main Street. Tupelo Hardware is right down there on the right-hand side. This is MLM Clothiers. And the story that Gene told you, he said the suit was in this window, just like this suit right here would be in this window. See if I can cover it up so you can see it. This is where he bought the suit from to go visit Elvis. And the place is still in operation. He said it's different owners, but it's still in operation. So can you imagine him inside this building right here, buying a suit in anticipation of going and meeting Elvis Presley? Pretty darn awesome, I must say. When we went up that night, it was on Thursday night, July the 1st, 1971. And I went up there and knocked on the door, and his bodyguard come to the door and let us in. And so I sat there on the couch, on that big white couch there on the end of it. And I was real nervous. I was getting upset and everything, and I was jumping around there, and I wanted to see him. And his bodyguard told me, said, just sit down there. Said, he'll be to see you in a few minutes. Said, he'll be down here in a few minutes. Just sit down. I said, I want to see him. And he said, well, said just sit down there. It was Joe Esposito and Sonny Way. It was two or three of them in there. Two or three of his bodyguards. Joe Esposito was the number one. And so in a few minutes, he come bouncing down the stairs. And I grabbed him, and I grabbed his arm, and I said, oh, I said, Elvis. I started holding him, like that. He said, yeah. He said, cut me and I'll bleed just like you will. I said, buddy, I'm not going to cut you. I said, I'm too glad to see you. I said, you don't know you have made my life. You made me. And he said, well, he said, you got my badge? I said, yes, sir. And he said, I gave it to him, and he looked at it, and he's tickled to death with it. And in a few minutes, Priscilla came in, and she said, he looked at Priscilla and said, Priscilla, I wish you could have seen the look on that boy's face when I walked in this room. He said, if I live to be 100 years old, he said, I'll never forget this boy right here as long as I live. And he got his tickle with me as I did. And when I told him my name was Gene Autry, he looked at me and he said, Gene Autry can't sing. I said, no, but Elvis can sing, can't he? He said, yeah, they think somebody thinks I can. He said, they just named the street after me on Monday down the street here when they named Elvis Presley Boulevard. And he said, do you want to go through the trophy room? I said, yeah. So we go back through the end of the couch there and back to the left back there, and he had a big old trophy room in there. And it was fixed up like a big jewelry store. He had all kind of watches and rings and all kind of jewelry and everything. It looked like a jewelry store. Had it all lit up and everything. Had the blue lights on the floor shining up in them, and everything. And I mean, it was incredible. And he still goes through there laughing at me. He got as big a kick out of seeing me as I did him. I mean, he was just, he couldn't get over it. He just went through there shaking his head, and I had my arm around him all the way through the house. And I know he thought I was crazy. But I told him, I said, you just don't know how much this means to me. And he come back out, and he was a perfect gentleman. I mean, he was a number one. I mean, anybody thinks that, that he would be, you'd think that he wouldn't have, that he wouldn't be that way, but he was a perfect gentleman in every way. I mean, he just went all out for us.
So he showed you some things out of those cases.
Yeah.
Tell us about some of those things.
He showed me a watch that General Omar Bradley gave him when he was in the service, and he showed me some rings that some of the celebrities had given him. But he had a massive display of jewelry in that place, and it had the gold records all around the roof, all around the ceiling in there. And like I said, it was blue, and it was just like walking in a blue tomb. I mean, it was unbelievable. But he told me, he said, I just can't get over you. I said, no, I can't get over you either. I said, I just can't believe I'm in the house with Elvis Presley.
But that proves that you must have been a huge fan, because people here in this town knew how much this meant to you.
Yes.
So much so that they set up for you to personally go and present the badge.
Yes.
And not only do you have a story to tell, we have photographic proof, friends.
Yes.
Show us your photograph.
This was made inside of Graceland.
That's your new suit.
My new suit.
And you and Elvis standing inside the front door. There's the badge right there in Elvis's hand.
And I've never wore that suit since.
And you have the suit still?
I still have it.
That is incredible, man.
And this was made before I went up, and I carried it with me, and he signed it.
And got him to sign it right there.
Yeah, that was made inside of my living room.
That is, and it says to one of my biggest fans,
Gene Autry.
Or my best fans.
My best fans, Gene Autry.
To Gene Autry, one of my best fans. That is incredible, Gene.
Yeah.
And he also signed an album for you.
He signed an album. He signed this album right here. You can see it down at the bottom.
To Gene, my friend Elvis Presley. That is ultra cool.
And I have been a collector of Elvis for years and years. I mean, I've got a big Elvis collection. But after that, I saw him. He told me that I would never have any trouble getting any tickets to any more of his concerts. And I saw him. I went to Las Vegas in '70, and I went to '71 and '72 to Las Vegas 2 years in a row.
So you saw him at the big showroom
at the International Hotel.
Hilton.
Yes.
That is awesome.
And a funny thing, the first time I went out there, we were sitting way back up in the back there, me and my wife. And this man and woman was sitting with us, and her grandson was putting the phone system in his new house in Holmby Hills in California. And she told me, we got to talking and everything, and I said, my goodness, I said, how do I get down there closer? I said, we so far away. I said, I just barely can see him from up here. She said, well, next time you come out here, I said, tip the maitre d', and he'll carry you down there. So I got up. I couldn't wait till the next year. So I go and I save all my money up and everything. We go out there, and I get in the hotel out there. My wife gets mad at me. She told me, she said, you can stay down here if you want to, so I'm going to bed. I stood in line for about 6 hours to get to the door of the opening of the place where he was, and she got mad at me and went to the room. But when I got to the door, this guy was standing at the door, and I told him, I said, I want a good seat. I said, I come all the way from Tupelo, Mississippi to see Elvis, and I said, I'm a big fan of his, and I said, I want a good seat. And he said, well, I got all these people in here. I got this and I got that and everything. And I told him, I said, I pulled a $50 bill out and I handed it to him. I said, well, let's get me down there. He said, come on. He got me by his arm and carried me all the way down to the stage. I mean, I was right up against the stage, we were. And for the midnight show, I mean, It had 2 shows, one at the cocktail show and then a dinner show and a cocktail show. So we went to the cocktail show. But he was on the stage, but he never did see me. I mean, all them lights and everything, I mean, it blinded him and everything.